Beverly, is going to be very tough. When you say half, it's half from not from full level of the throughput of the pipeline. It's actually now only at about 20% of 1/5 of the of throughput. Just to remind your listeners and what your audience, we're talking about the major pipeline that supplies almost half of all European gas, and this is Nord Stream 1. It's a major pipeline, and it particularly is going to impact Germany. So it's not unexpected, but it's very big news.
And in your mind, is there any doubt that it is Russia retaliating for the ongoing sanctions?
I would love to be able to give Putin benefit of the doubt, but I think it's very hard to do so in this case. I think there was a precedent for this. We are talking about this whole saga of compressors and some turbines going for maintenance into Canada, but that turbine's been returned, maintained, but now Gazprom is asking for full documentation, supposedly. At the same time, Gazprom have actually switched off another compressor station off, supposedly for maintenance. And quite clearly, looking at the historical precedent, they started cutting these supplies well before even the invasion of Ukraine, with the aim to prevent Europe to build up enough storage capacity to maintain their sort of winter demand.
With the sanctions, the sort of unprecedented sanctions against Russia, can they afford to do this?
Well, this is economic warfare, and I think Russia is definitely hurting as a result of this warfare. I mean, Europe is going to hurt, but you don't go into war saying, ouch, I may get hurt. What's happening? I read a paper this morning, or at least skimmed through a very long paper by Foreign Affairs. They published a paper in which Russia is actually hurting far more than we think. The issue for an economist or anyone statistician looking at what's happening in Russia is that they've actually stopped publishing a lot of data, and there's a reason behind it. Their imports have completely collapsed, the investment, domestic demand, and so on. So I think Russia is definitely hurting out of this whole affair. Very sad for both sides, but until this whole conflict gets resolved, I think Russia at the moment is probably getting the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah, well, as you say, so this real serious cut in flows to Europe, but Europe also coming together to say that they really need to reduce their dependence on Russian gas by at least 15%. How significant is that?
It is significant. I think when we looked into this problem a couple of months ago at the Institute, we cranked up some numbers, and our gas team basically came up with Europe probably being short about 10% of all the gas they need in Europe, for the winter. Now, with this 15% cut, is roughly in line with their calculation. I think what the European Commission did was calculate what they expect to get from Russia as the best case scenario, and then, okay, we're going to cut that anyway and actually try and wean ourselves from that. The other reason why they decided to go with this 15% is what's really hurting Europe and everyone else at the moment is this uncertainty. Uncertainty works for Russia really well. Is Russian flow coming? Is it not coming? And all these games, Russians love for two reasons. A, they maintain high volatile prices. And number two, they also can cause discord within Europe, because some countries actually don't really like Spain, for example. They can get most of their gas from LNG. They don't depend on Russia so much. UK is similar, whereas countries like Germany very much depend on that. So causing discord is a very big part of their game.
Yeah. I've heard the German State Secretary responsible for this talk about moving completely away from dependency on gas and oil. But, I mean, in truth, with the uncertainty globally, it's very hard to do quickly, isn't it?
It's very, very hard to do it quickly. I mean, the way they're planning to do it now with this 15% cut is by almost certainly cutting a lot of industry away from gas. And as we know, Germany is a very industrialized country, so all the steel production, all the fertilizer production, glass, whatever that's highly energy intensive, is basically will have to ration gas, which basically means the GDP is going to fall. So some estimates that I've seen are talking about 2 or 3% fall in GDP, which is already pretty minor at the moment in Europe.
Does Russia have other markets for its gas?
No, that's an excellent question, Bev. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that Russia will never completely cut the gas supplies to Europe, because as long as what they're doing right now, Putin is literally playing his KGB games, supplying a little bit and withdrawing, causing volatility, causing discord within European nations. But actually, if he stops supplying gas completely, A, he doesn't have any more political leverage, and B, he has zero income. So I think it's highly unlikely that he would do that.
And what about China? Could they step into the breach and become a bigger client?
Well, China is a big player, but there's the gas that's produced and supplied into Europe through the European set of pipelines cannot be rerouted into China. Impossible. So anything that Russia and Putin regime shut, it will be shut for whatever period of time. So China can buy additional volumes of LNG, but Russia is not a big exporter of LNG. This is liquefied natural gas that we're talking about. And it's been rather fortunate for Europe that actually China, due to COVID restrictions, China has imported relatively little natural gas, i.e. LNG, liquefied natural gas. So that's really helped Europe and everyone else, like Pakistan's and India's and everyone else who buys the LNG, and kept the prices reasonably within check. I think if China came back to what they were buying in 2019 or 2020, I think the gas prices would be a lot higher.
So in your mind, this volatility is here to stay, at least in the medium term?
Well, absolutely. I think that the part of the plan of the European Union is to step in and say, okay, let's just get rid of this dependency, because all we are doing is just prolonging the inevitable. And we really need to wean ourselves off Russian gas unless some new regime comes in, and then we can talk about it again. But the sooner Europe can reduce the dependence on Russian gas, the sooner volatility will stop, the sooner everyone will say, okay, well, let's move on to liquefied natural gas, renewables, and all the other energy sources.
Great to talk, Adi, as always. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.